Girl. My fake setup. It's your favorite hijabi coming at you as a first-time mom. Oh my god. Yo, life has been crazy. Life has been crazy. To all the moms that ever doubted, to everybody I said that taking care of a newborn should be easy because they sleep all day, I apologize. I'm so sorry because, woo, it is crazy. Rin, you better not. Anyway, it is insane. Alhamdulillah though, alhamdulillah, I'm so blessed. And anyway, with this free time, with the baby finally asleep, and I really don't know how long it's gonna be before he wakes up and wants attention, but let's just pray I get through this without him interrupting. Alhamdulillah, I gave birth to my beautiful son October 11th. My beautiful boy. I love him so much. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We have been blessed. Boy was 8 pounds 9 ounces. He was a big boy. And yeah, I decided to make this video just because I wanted to talk about my labor story. Being a first-time mom, first of all, I was terrified to give birth, and I was asking a whole bunch of different people who have done it on Facebook, from my family. Everybody has different experiences. That's the craziest thing, because I have some women like my sister-in-law who's tiny. She's tiny. She's like, oh, I didn't feel anything. Don't even worry about it. Her epidural didn't work, and she was like, oh, it was a little pain, but I was all right. Don't worry about it. You're big. You're like, you'll be fine. I'm like, all right, bet. And then I had some women who were like, yo, worst pain of my entire life. Get ready. You're going to suffer. And I'm like, oh. So really, I can't, this is not like a video to like advise anybody. This is just literally me just talking about my experience because it was crazy, and I just want to share it. Maybe I will show this video to my son in the future and be like, look at this. Look what you made me go through. Look what you made me go through. So let's start. First of all, I want to start by saying that my pregnancy was extremely difficult in the very beginning. Yo, from month 1 through 3, I was suffering because I was constantly throwing up. And I remember at one point my husband and I ordered Indian food. Woo, ya Allah. Yo, I had never puked anything more in my entire life. And first of all, before being pregnant, the last time I actually threw up was freshman year of college because I had food poisoning. So going from that span of time to constantly throwing up every single day, it was horrible. It was the worst. But that Indian food, I will never forget it, and I still to this day cannot eat Indian food because when I threw it back up, I relived all the spices and the flavors with a tint of vomit flavor. So it was disgusting. It was disgusting. And it was very nasty. And I love Indian food, so I really can't wait to get over that. I hear the baby. Please, don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah. So month 1 through 3, it was insane. I was throwing up, and at one point there was one day where I was throwing up everything, every single thing, even dry toast that everyone told me to eat. I threw that up too. It was horrible. But yeah, I got over it eventually, alhamdulillah. And then by the end, like months 7 and 8 and a little bit of 9, it started getting uncomfortable again because the baby was like big. My baby was big, alhamdulillah, mashallah. He was a big boy. And I started feeling like pain and hip pressure, and like it was hard for me to turn in my sleep. I couldn't like do anything because he was just so big and pressing on my bladder and my stomach and like my whole intestines, everything was squished around. And he was a big boy, he was heavy, and it was very uncomfortable towards the end. But my doctor decided to induce me because I was having like problems with blood pressure and stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, everything was good, but she just wanted to be safe. So I was induced at 40 weeks. The hospital called us at like 5:30 in the morning, and they're like, oh, you know you're giving birth today? I'm like, oh, all right, let's go. So my husband, like, me and my husband jumped up, we prayed Fajr. We packed everything. First of all, we procrastinated because we were supposed to pack everything like weeks before, but we did it last minute, so we packed everything. Yeah, so we were driving to the hospital. We got some Dunkin', which is my favorite breakfast. Everything was good, everything was happy. At that point, wallahi, I was not scared. I was not scared. I was like, let's go, I'm so ready. At that point, I was feeling already so like, ugh, like big and heavy. I was like, yo, I can't wait to pop this kid out. I'm not scared. I was a little anxious, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I was like, look, let's go. Let's go. Good morning, y'all. It is 6:59 and we are
late.
Late and on our way to the hospital. So we went to the hospital. We had to do our little corona like exam or whatever. Like, oh, have you been here? Have you been there? They asked us that like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, no, alhamdulillah, we're good. So anyway, I get charged. I get like, what's it called? When I go to the hospital. I go into the room. The room is nice. I'm like, ooh, I change out of my clothes into my little gown. I'm like, let's go. Okay, so we're in our labor room. I'm in my little labor gown. Here is the bed. They give me like an IV. Everything's good. At this point, I feel no pain. I feel nothing. I feel no contractions, nothing. Alhamdulillah. I'm like, yo, I'm good. And the last time at the gynecologist, I was 2 centimeters at that point. I felt nothing. I was like, yo, I'm good. Everybody exaggerating about this giving birth situation. I was good. So I'm like, listen, whatever, like, let's go. So the nurse tells me, okay, this is what we're gonna do. They're gonna give me this little thing to soften my cervix. Then after like 12 hours, they're gonna give me Pitocin, which is gonna kick in the contractions. Then wait 12 hours, then I'll be ready to push. I'm like, oh, damn, this is gonna be a long process. Cause I gotta wait like, what, 24 hours? You bugging. But anyway, I was like, okay. And they're like, okay, we're gonna check how dilated you are at this point before we give you the cervix softener thing. I'm like, okay. They check and I'm 4 centimeters dilated. 4 centimeters. They're like, what? You're 4 centimeters dilated already. And I had felt no pain. So I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, okay, we're gonna skip the cervix softener and jump right to the Pitocin. I'm like, okay. Everybody like through text messages like, yo, be careful, Pitocin, like the contractions hurt so bad once they kick in, like get ready. I'm like, okay, bet. Like at this point I was feeling mad confident because I was feeling nothing. I was feeling no pain at all. So I'm like, okay, give me the Pitocin, let's go. I already feel like Superwoman, let's go. So they give me the Pitocin and they're like upping the dosage. They're upping the dosage every couple hours. Still nothing. I started feeling like some cramping, like period cramping, but it was not as intense as everybody was saying. So it would be like cramping and like, ooh, but it would go away. And I'm like, ooh, okay. So I was feeling nothing, like how people, and this is what I was trying to say. Everybody has different experiences, so you can't like judge what your experience is gonna be based off everybody else, because my experience was completely different than my sisters and my sister-in-laws and apparently all these other women on Facebook. So I'm like, okay, like they upped the dosage. I think we got to like 16 something, and I think the max was like 20. They got to 16, I was still feeling nothing, and they checked how dilated I was. I was 5 centimeters at that point. And then my doctor comes in and she's like, you know what? You taking this too much like a champ. We gotta ruin your mood. Let's break your water. That is when all hell broke loose, okay? Now, I'ma just say, and shout out to Angela, because I should have listened to her. She was like, Sarah, before they break your water, make sure you get your epidural, because as soon as they break your water, it is going to hurt bad. Your contractions are going to hurt bad. So I asked the nurse, I'm like, hey, my sister-in-law saying that I should get the epidural, and then you break my water. And she's like, no, we're gonna give you your epidural like an hour or two after we break your water. I'm like, and she's like, you'll be fine, but you should feel the contractions a little bit. You should feel it. I'm like, okay. I was already handling the Pitocin well. I wasn't getting, the contractions were not even that serious for me. So I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna be a gangster with the Pitocin and not feel anything, then breaking my water is gonna be a piece of cake. Let's go. Let's go. So my doctor came in and she broke my water. Yo, the process of breaking your water, that is what hurt so bad. She like stuffed this long thing all the way in. I was like, that hurt really, really bad. It hurt really, really bad. But she broke my water and literally it just felt like a gush of water, constant gush of water, non-stop. Like even until I gave birth, it was still like water coming. And it felt really, really weird because it felt like you were peeing, but you couldn't stop yourself from peeing. It was very strange. Is my son waking up? It's causing him memories, I think, because, okay. So when they broke my water, within like probably, I swear to God, like 5 to 10 minutes, the contractions hit hard, like a truck. Those contractions, they were the worst pain I felt in my entire life. I was literally screaming in pain. I was like, ah! And I'm like, Bilal! And I was holding onto Bilal's hand and like squeezing water, and I was screaming in pain. I was like, okay, let's get the epidural. The guy that does the, I don't know what they're called, anesthesiologists? I don't know if I even said that right. But I was like, call the guy because it already hurts. And then she's like, no, those are not even the worst of the pains. Let's call him in like an hour or two. Yo, those were the worst pains. In the way that I can't even explain how the contractions felt, because they feel nothing like, people lie to me. They said they feel like period cramps times 100. They feel nothing like period cramps. They feel like your body is being ripped in half every like 2 minutes. And it would last for a couple seconds. It would last for maybe like 15 to 30 seconds. But it felt like your whole body was being ripped in half. I don't even know if I'm explaining it. I can't explain this to you. I really can't. I can't. But it came a point in time where I was like, Bilal, go get the nurse because I can't do it. My husband just sat there. He's like, sabr, just sabr. Sabr means patience. He was like, patience, Sarah, like relax. The nurse knows what she's talking about. I'm like, Bilal, if you don't get your butt up there and go get the nurse, because I'm like screaming in pain. He's like, girl, calm down. He was trying to be calm about it. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm pressing the button for the nurse. I'm checking myself. I'm pressing the button for the nurse and she's not responding. She's not, like, nothing. And it was, at that point, it was been 2 hours of contractions, like horrible contractions. So I'm like desperate for somebody to come in. Another nurse finally comes in after 2 hours. She is this angel of a nurse. She was Jamaican. She walks in. I'm like, please tell me that you're here for my epidural. She leaves the room and she gets the epidural dude. And the reason I'm calling him epidural dude is because I don't know how to say anesthesiologist. I don't know how to say it right. I'm gonna keep calling him epidural dude. She gets the epidural dude within 5 minutes, and I'm like, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. The epidural, everybody was like telling me the epidural was so scary. I didn't care. I didn't care how big the needle was. I didn't care how many times he was gonna poke me with needles. I'm like, yo, just get rid of these contractions because they are the worst pain. So the guy, like, he numbs you first before giving you the epidural because the epidural needle is long, like really, really long. I didn't even look at it. I was like, let's just go, like, let's go. I had to tell him when my contractions were hitting because when he's giving you the epidural, you need to be still. It's your spine. Like, you don't want to mess around with your spine. You don't want to jerk or move because astaghfirullah, anything bad can happen. So, he gave me the epidural, and literally within seconds, alhamdulillah, I felt no pain. It was like again in like a couple hours, and I was 10 centimeters dilated at that point. So she was like, yeah, let's like practice pushing, because the baby, I don't think the baby was ready to be pushed out yet. Like, I think I got induced too early because he was still a little high up, and the baby was like, I don't think he was ready at all to be pushed. So it was like 11 o'clock, and that's when I started like pushing. And that is when my husband really, really helped me out because he was like a coach. He was like, let's go! 1, 2, 3. And I was had to like push for 10 seconds nonstop, and he was like really, really encouraging me. Him and my Jamaican nurse, I think her name was Mary. I completely forgot what her name, oh man. She was the best, and I forgot her name. I'm so, so sorry. But Papa! Poppy! Okay, so back to the story. I started pushing at 11 p.m. and I pushed out my 8.9 pound baby at 2:54 a.m. So it took me 4 hours of pushing, and that probably was one of, it wasn't as painful as the contractions, but it was definitely the most difficult because I was really, really tired. Like, I was about to knock out. Like, every time I had to put I was like half asleep, and the nurse would wake me. She's like, let's go, wake up, let's go, push, push. I'm like, oh, okay, oh my God. And my husband was like, let's go, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, ah! For 4 hours. That was literally my life for 4 hours. So I'm like, I was at the point where I was begging, I'm like, please, can we take like 20 minutes? Like, let me just nap for 20 minutes. And she's like, all right, 20 minutes, but then we'll be back and we're not gonna stop. I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, that was literally what happened for 4 hours. And when it felt like, it wasn't painful because the epidural, but it felt like the pushing felt like you were pushing out a poop. Like, that's literally how it feels like when you're really constipated and you gotta push your poop out. That's how the pushing feels like. We were done, the baby was there, and they like threw him on me as soon as he came out. They threw him on me. He was like bloody, and like he was all a mess, but I didn't even really care at that point. I was like really, I was in pain because it was like, I just felt the aftermath of it, so it was hard for me to like really connect at that point because I was like, ouch. Like, ouch. They cleaned him up, they gave him to my husband, and my husband like said the adhan in his ear. Yeah, and alhamdulillah, like, we were blessed with a beautiful baby boy. And that was my experience, my pregnancy and my delivery story and my 4 hours of pushing. And to everybody who lied to me and said the pushing was only gonna be 20 minutes, everybody was so concerned for me at that point because they all knew that I was pushing at 11. And then when they didn't hear anything from us until like 2:30. That's when my husband was like, let me update them, because they were blowing up my husband's phone being like, yo, what's going on? Like, it should not be taking this long for her to push. Like, what's happening? And my husband's like, yeah, she's still pushing. And yeah, everybody was so concerned. But alhamdulillah, I really think that it took so long because he wasn't 100% ready to come out. Like, he was just really just chilling, and he was comfortable. He was comfortable, and we pretty much forced him out. And he was like, yo, I was not ready to come out. And you know what? Since I wasn't ready, I'm gonna stay in there as long as possible, and you're gonna have to push for 4 hours. And that's when I'll come out. I'll come out when I say. And he did. Alhamdulillah. Right, baby? Right? You came out when you wanted to, my smiley boy. You gave mama a hard time. You gave mama a hard time, my bean. It's really crazy. And I know this goes without saying, and I know that you guys are probably gonna be like, duh, when I say this, but it's crazy how your life changes when you have a kid. It's so crazy. Because one day you're going from doing whatever you want, coming home whatever time you want, going to sleep whenever you want, eating whenever you want, see? Making videos whenever you want, to now being like, yo, I can't because I have a baby. I can't go out. Or I have to take a nap when he takes a nap, because if I don't, I'm gonna miss out on sleep. Or, oh, he's sleeping, let me just run and go eat something before he wakes up. Like, life really is crazy. Life really changes. Like, my mother instinct just kicked in. Like, now I'm just like breastfeeding. I'm like changing diapers. I'm like awake when he's awake. Like, if you feel like you're not gonna be able to be a mom, or you're worried that, or a dad, or you're worried about if you have the ability to love, or if you have the ability to care, you do. You really do. And it happens where you get frustrated. Like, I get so frustrated with him, and I'll be like, just do it. But I look at his little face and be like, I'm sorry. But yeah, that was my story. Again, just to reiterate, if you're pregnant and you're looking for advice, or if you're trying to anticipate how your delivery is gonna be, listen, I tried to do that, and my story was completely different than so many other people's. So don't really look at don't look at other people's story like it's gonna be yours. It's completely different. But it's crazy because, like, as soon as I gave birth to him, like, I forgot the pain. I forgot how tiring it was. I'm just like, yo, this is my son. Like, this is really my half of who I am. That's your legacy. And as Hamilton says, legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. If I throw away my shot, is this how you remember? All right, let me stop. I hope you guys enjoyed my story. I enjoyed making it, and I cannot wait until my son is old enough for me to show him this and be like, look at what you put me through. So yeah, alhamdulillah. Until next time, everybody, thanks for watching.